Welcome everyone to my 50th. And Peter, what a great achievement for you. Well done. Let me start by saying that back in 1967 was a much simpler time. And in that year, our very own Prime Minister Harold Holt had disappeared off the back beaches of Portsea. In Tasmania, fires killed over 50 people and destroyed 2,000 homes. The book Picnic at Hanging Rock was released. The Boldy government was re-elected, and Ronald Ryan was the last man to be hung in Victoria. It's a pity they don't keep that tradition going. For me, I was born Saturday morning at Panch Hospital to the proud parents of Rita and Adelio Sigonini. I was third in line to the throne, and I eventually had that middle child syndrome. I moved into a brand new home in 17 Eagle Avenue, Kingsbury, so for the next 22 years that became my place of residence. It was only just this year that Mum and Dad moved out of that place. It'd been in the family for 50 years. I went to school in Our Lady of the Way, Kingsbury. Many of my friends and I were going on adventures all over the suburbs, Reservoir, Preston, Bundoora and Greensborough. It'd always be an adventure. Riding all day and coming home just before dark. We were safe. There wasn't anything to worry about. They were wonderful times and wonderful memories with my friends back then. The secondary school that I went to was St Joseph's in Abbotsford. It took a 1-hour bus and train ride every day. Those years at St Joe's were the best growing years for this young boy. Not only did the school taught you the core subjects, but they educated you on the big wide world you'd be entering into when you left school. Over the years, the school would bring in like the police, the fire, the AMBO. We even had an Aboriginal speaker, we had a social worker, we had the junkie, and we even had the homeless. I honestly think the last two weren't part of the speaking circuit. My classroom, I could look out to the city and I could almost touch the Collins Towers as they were being constructed. Sometimes during the week and on the weekends, my mates and I would head to the city. We'd be chasing the girls or being chased by similar groups like us. We did a lot of running back in those days. At the age of 14, I got drunk a few times and started smoking ciggies. I even had my first kiss. I remember seeing her a few years ago at a funeral. No, she wasn't the one in the box. At the same time, I was doing some part-time work at an engineering place on a metal press machine. Every available free day that I had from school or school holidays, that's where I was heading. Money was everything. A little bit later on, I was doing some work in the asphalt industry that my father was part of, working with men. And one thing I found is I had to work harder because I was the boss's son. I was alright. I was a worker from day one. After high school, I went to RMIT and I started mechanical engineering and building mechanical services. To complete them both took around about 4.5 years. I sort of realised now that when I'd finished it was a bit of a waste of time. I should have become a builder. After all, I was born for hammering my hands. For some unknown reason which I cannot explain, is I went left when I should have went right. I would have been a great builder today, I know that. At 19, I hopped on a plane and travelled over to London. Travelled around there in Scotland. Then I went on a Kentucky tour of Europe. Then I went to Italy and spent most of my time there. Fond memories. It was a time that I had to grow up very quickly. It's a time that I had to look after myself. It was a time that I fell in love with a young girl. But I knew that, this boy was just young and the world was his oyster. And there was so much I wanted to see and do. I certainly didn't want to get bogged down. So I come back home and I found a job with a consultancy firm here in Melbourne. And I was there for around about 3.5 years. I was actually the chief draftsman. I was the only draftsman for quite a while. It was in South Yarra, above the Paran Market. I had friends who lived around there as well. This was our playground, our horn. Mid-89 I met Kelly. And just over a year later, we took on one of our biggest tests. We went overseas for 6 months.
and if we survived it, it was meant to be. We came back with a suitcase full of memories and a commitment of a future together. When we come back, we brought a VCR, TV and a dog. We loved that dog for 17 years, Georgie. In just over 12 months of working hard and saving, we bought our first home, 428 Nepean Highway, Parkdale. For the whole 9 years we were there, I was renovating, and I finally finished it right up until auction hour. Issue of marriage was on the cards, and that happened in '94. The next stage in our lives was creating a family, and the process in making our firstborn was quite humorous and at times quite tiresome. Getting the call, the come now, the calendar is calling. Will she stand in front of you and mouthing the words, now? And as I put the phone down covering the mouthpiece, I mouthed the words back, I'm on the phone to Mum. These days you can just take your mobile phone with you. We all know what followed next. It was child number 1 Jamie, and child number 1 Mia, and child number 1 Ella. All equally loved. Right up until now, our family's seen many milestones, from the wonderful holidays that we've been on, to the house that we built, to the business that we started 15 years ago. Our kids have turned to young adults, and Kel and I are so proud that we have a great family that stems from our hard work and commitment. For me turning 50, it's a time to reflect on where I come from and what I've achieved. The building blocks of my personality and my beliefs stem from the family that I was born from. Whilst my mother and her mother cared and nurtured me through my growing years, it was my father who instilled the value of respect for our peers and respect for our family. Dad never spoke in words like this. I was led by example. Dad had raised the bar so high, it's always a challenge to come even close. The reason why I'm so lucky is that I have air in my lungs. I come from a great family. I have my own great family, who sometimes test my patience. But I'm so proud of the wonderful kids that I have raised, and also the extended family and friends who contributed, especially you all here tonight. So Peter, happy birthday. You are the second best bloke I know. Dad is the first. And you know there is one more thing. You need to cleanse your soul, boy. And you need to do that thing you did on your 40th. And you know what that is? I thought you did. And while you're doing that, I'm going back to work. For these hands are my strength. And by the way, I vote. From the hard work, now our family's seen many milestones. From the wonderful holiday. Right up until now, our family's seen many milestones. From the wonderful holidays we'd been on, to the home that we'd built, to the business we had created 15 years ago. I mouthed the words back. I'm on the phone to Mum. These days, this is stupid. Mid-89, I met Kat. Watching the city grow outside my classroom window, you could almost reach out and grab, or touch. Grab? The fuck? I remember those wonderful, what the fuck, those, and we'll just roam around, 3 young boys. That sounds like stupid. Get there, took over, 1.5, I can't get past this. To get there was wonderful kids that I've raised. I am also an awesome. And I am so proud that through our hard work and commitment, we have a great family. For me, turning 50 is a time to reflect. What am I doing? I'm going the wrong fucking way. From our wonderful, in that year, our own very own Prime Minister, elected for Victoria, and our own Ronald Ryan was the last man was released. In Tasmania, wildfires.